You escaped from the basement. You didn't lock him up today. Okay. We have a song to sing. This is Why Did the Lord Leave? Look. This one will come later.
Just the other one. First, that's what you're looking for.
This is a song by a famous poet Madhavananda, who was a disciple of Srila Everyone together, please. Om Gyana Chiranandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvadikam Yena Tasmai Shri Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadane Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Paschapcha Ishtadane Mancha Kalpaduru Vishcha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitana Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Goloka Shariya Prabhu Kina Bhavani
Jani Tequila Gora Kada Prema Pande Na Jani Tequila Jani Krishna Krishna Boli Kande Gana Krishna Kande Gana Jani Krishna Krishna Boli Kande Gana Mathura Boli Koraye Vilapa Mathura Boli Koraye Vilapa Mathura Boli Koraye Vilapa Akura Boli Kore Anutapa Shaniba Akura Boli Kore Anutapa Shaniba Akura Boli Kore Ramananda Kande Pranaya Vikale Krishna all together. Shila Prabhupada ki Shri Shila Bhakti Pankaj Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Shri Premnatha Nityananda Prabhu ki Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki Bolo Giriraj Maharaj ki Go Premanande Samavita Bhakta Vrinda ki all glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Shri Shri Gauram Gauranga. All glories to Shri. There's a little tip. You can be a troublemaker, a revolutionary. Keep the song. You don't have to give it back to them. Just keep it for yourself. And you can laminate it. Stick it on the wall. Gora Praganya Gana Gocha Gororuharam Gauranga Gura Tamago Pyara Kopa Vruksham Gopala Gadaratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Gavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Attama Vichuna Achila Achila Vile Gagola Ahe Premananda Himona Goranga Vidoya Daniya Gola Gaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Kaha Goranga Gola Gaja Kaha Goranga Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoya Madhavananda Se Hoya Madhavananda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Yashvedam Puja Bhakti Labhya, Prema Vidana Parama Pumartha, Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya, Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste, Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavir Api Gopala Srikuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Vishayustatya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Brajabala Gopalima Pancha Gopadarudischa Kripa Sindhu Bhedischa Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we read something in the song. In this song, the author raises a number of questions, each one of which would be a whole seminar by itself. Big subject. Goloka Chadiya, Prabhu Kena Bhavana. Chadiya means to give up. Goloka Chadiya, why did the Lord, Prabhu, leave Goloka Vrindavan? Kalarupa Kena Haila Gora Varna Kani. Why did he change his dark form into a golden form? Big subject. If you read Embankment of Separation, Rama speaks about that very elaborately. Hasa Vilasa Chadi. Why did he give up his Hasa Vilas, his pastimes of laughing and merriment? Kena Pahun Kande, and now he's just crying and crying. Na jani teki lagora, kara prema fandi. I don't understand. Na jani teki lagora. Who did Mahaprabhu set this trap of ecstatic love for? Now, just a little note here, for those of you who like language. The term for Gauranga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used in this song is Gora. It's not spelled the way we generally do in our society, G-A-U-R-A, but he's spelling it G-O-R-A. It means the same thing, it's the same person. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sometimes uses that spelling, and it's common also in Prema Vilas and Bhakti Ratnakar and different Padyavali Kirtans like this one. But Gora means Gauranga Mahaprabhu, but it has another meaning too. It's a compound word. It means that person who's a combined form of Govinda, Radha. And that's why the A is long, Radha. And Gora is also the name of our research institute in Jagannath, the Odia Research Association. Great name. So he goes on. Shani means that in one moment. Shani Krishna Krishna Boli Kande Gana Gana. One moment he's calling out Krishna Krishna. And he's crying and crying. Kanda Kande Gana Gana. Shani, the next moment, Saki Saki Boli Koraye Rodana. And then he's calling out, crying Rodana. Saki Saki. Matura Matura Boli Koraye Vilap. Sometimes he's having this vilap, this lamentation. He's calling out Matura Matura. And then the next moment he's calling out Akrura. And Anuta. He's lamenting like anything. Thinking about how Krishna had left Vrindavan and gone to Mathura. Shani Shani Bholi Chiye, Chanda Chandana. One moment he's calling out this nonsense moon, this nonsense sandalwood paste. Why is he saying that? Because they're both supposed to be cooling, giving some relief from heat. But in this viraha tap, this heat of separation, this viraha jvara, this fever of separation, he's getting no relief. So he's criticizing. Chiye, chanda chanda, nonsense moon, nonsense sandalwood paste. Dulaya lutai, he's rolling in the dust, Kande crying out, and with his companions, Jata Nija Jana, he's crying. Now generally when we cry alone, because it's a little embarrassing, isn't it? You don't want other people to see you crying. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here is described, Kande Jata Nija Jana, that he's crying with his Nija Jana. What is the necessity of having those other persons near him? It's necessary because it's required to nourish the rasa that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing. We were speaking a little something about this yesterday. We should have a firm philosophical foundation if we want to understand something about the nature of rasa. And one of the primary pillars in that foundation of our structure is the understanding of the position of Krishna. Very important. Krishna technically is Priti Vishwa. He's a supreme object of love. There's no superior object of love than him. And Srimati Radharani, by her constitutional position, is Priti Ashray. She's the abode of that love. Now Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham, that as someone approaches me, I reciprocate accordingly. But then he says in the Bhagavatam, Naparayeham nidavadyasam yajam swasadu krityam vibudaya sakivaya mabhajam durjaya geya shrinkalai samvichjaya tad apratyatu sadhuna. He tells this to the gopis. And my grandma's in one lecture, he was commenting, actually, this verse is particularly spoken to Srimati Radharani. He's saying, Naparayeham, I don't know how to repay you. Everyone else wants something. He wants a shiny red bicycle. Oh dear God, if I could just have a shiny red bicycle, it would be so good. But the gopis don't want anything. All the gopis want is to please Krishna. So how do you reciprocate with someone who only wants your pleasure? And there's a deep purport of the phrase, Yapratyatu sadhuna. He concludes the statement, I can't repay my debt to Yapratyatu sadhuna, and it's translated as, let your own glories be your reward. What does that mean? I have to reciprocate him, and let your own glories be your reward. It has a deep purport. The purport is that for him to repay his debt to the gopis, Kratiyatu sadhuna, he had to become a sadhu. And he had to come and he had to do sadhana. He had to do the same sadhana that the gopis were doing. He had to do the same sadhana that Srimati Radharani was doing. And this is the Kirtan of our Sampradaya. We're getting a little closer to having a complete understanding of that statement. Maybe it's an unlimited statement, having some philosophical understanding of it anyway. So, for him to understand that, because his position constitutionally is pretty Vishroy, it's like when you go into the office and you punch in and it says you are the secretary, you are the vice president, or this or that, time card. So when Krishna punches in on the clock at work, it says God. He's the Supreme Lord. And he has a certain job that he does. And he can't understand the nature, the love of his devotees. But because he's very greedy, he's Rasika Shekhar. He's the king of all rasas. He wants very much to taste what the gopis, and in particular Srimati Radharani, are tasting. Krishna by nature is known technically as Asamurdha. Asamurdha. No one is equal to him, no one is greater than him. In his position as Priti Vishwa, as the supreme object of love, as a supreme personality of Godhead. Srimati Radharani, as a feminine aspect of the Lord, also is Asamurdha. No one is equal to her. No one is greater than her in her quality of being the reservoir of love. No one has the love that she has. No one can exceed her love. And so when Krishna wants to repay his debt to the gopis and he comes, he's confused. That's paradoxical. Because he's Sarvagya. He knows everything. He's the Supreme Lord. But this is one thing he's never done before, as we were discussing yesterday. If the sunshine, the sun planet one day wanted to understand, what is the quality of darkness like, of night like? You can describe it to the sun. It's like this, it's black. But the sun, what is black? I've never seen the color black before. I never see black. The sun will have a difficult time understanding that. To understand bhakti, to get bhakti, as we've been discussing the last few days, and a very foundational principle for what we want to talk about today, bhakti stu bhagavad bhakta sangena parijayate, the Grihanaradiya Purana states that the only way you can become a devotee is by the mercy of the devotees. Krishna says, ye me bhakta janapartha, na me bhaktastate janam, bhaktanam cha ye bhaktaste me bhaktatamomataha. Someone who says he's my devotee is not my devotee. But the person who's a devotee of my devotee, that's my real devotee. So Krishna has to put his money where his mouth is. He has to actually come and experience that. And so he comes as Bhakta Rup. He comes in the mood of a devotee to taste Radha Bhav. But Bhakti Stu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate. You can't taste that. You can't get bhakti unless you have the mercy of the devotees. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, a few days ago in Vrindavan, we were speaking something about how the devotees in Navadvip, they were really annoyed by this very arrogant, puffed up young boy whose name was Nimai Pandit, who was always going and challenging everyone to debates and everything, because that's what you do if you're a big pundit. You have to go and defeat everybody. You have to show your muscles. But at the same time, they felt some great attraction for him. They couldn't figure that out. He's so arrogant, so nonsense, but we just love him to pieces. He's so, how is that? And they were all praying to the Lord, please, Krishna, give bhakti to me, my pastor. He's the Supreme Lord himself. He is Krishna. But they're praying to him that he may get bhakti. And Nimai Pandit told them, he said, thank you for your prayers. I accept your prayers because it's only by the blessings of the devotees that someone can get bhakti. So for him to understand and taste what it's like to be a bhakta, he had to become a bhakta, and he had to take association of bhaktas. And so he went to school, and he studied from Gangadas Pandit. And he had so many friends he learned bhakti from, like Mukunda, and Haridas, and Gadadhar, and others. Because on his own, it's a, the Exploring Brave New Worlds where no man has been gone before. There was some television thing like that years ago. This is the origin of all of that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. And he's trying to understand this strange world, this world which is completely foreign to him, of being a devotee of himself. It's very, very paradoxical. So, as we were speaking yesterday, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song, Ohi Vaishnava Thakur, he says, Ekaki Amma, Nahi Payabala, Harinama Sankirtan. On my own, I don't have the strength to do this Harinama. In the same way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. He doesn't have the strength. The strength in this case means the rasa, the understanding, because he's the object of ras. And now he has to experience what the abode of ras does. This is very postgraduate. My Guru Maharaj wanted devotees to understand this. He told me, he said, you should work to help uphold the prestige of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And he told us in Spain in 1994, he said the best way to do that is to have nice Krishna Katha and nice Vaishnava dealings. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Madhavananda Prabhu.
Please excuse me. Yes, it's on behalf of all the devotees here, Prabhu. Not just a knowledge. That's why I used to wonder why in Bhubaneswar, when someone would offer a garland, everybody else bowed down. I was thinking, man, these guys are like cult members or something. And then I came to understand, no, because this is a proper way in Sangha. When a senior person enters a Sangha, we should give them a garland. And everybody bows down because we're all offering that garland. We're all giving that respect to that senior person. So we've been speaking something the last few days about the Kirtan of our Sampradaya. What is that Kirtan? Why we chant primarily Krishna's name, not the name of Radha, not the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or of Nityananda Prabhu, or the name of our Guru. And we've been progressing little by little to that point. And today we've been singing the song of Nayananda Das Thakur, disciple of Gadadhar Pandit, speaking about why the Lord left Goloka, Vrindavan. And in this line, Tulayalutaye Kande Jata Nija Jata, it describes that experiencing the Kirtan in this world as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Mahaprabhu was experiencing that, he's rolling on the ground. Jata Nija Jana, Kande Jata Nija Jana, he's with his associates and they're all together crying. And so we were trying to explain this, how the Lord is Priti Vishway by nature, the object of love, and the devotees are Priti Ashray, the abode of love, headed by Srimati Radharani. So for him to taste the love of a devotee, he had to have some help. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Ekaki Amar Nahi Payabala Harinama Sankirtani. I don't have the strength to do kirtan on my own. We were giving some talks in Lithuania. It's been a long last 3 months. From Srila Prabhupada's Vrindavane Bhajan, his bhajan that he wrote in Vrindavan, which I suggested to the devotees as kind of the foundation of our Krishna consciousness movement. And just in the same way, you have a beautiful, huge building, but if you really want to understand that building, you want to go in the basement, and you want to see what is the foundation of that building, how strong is it, what is it made out of. So if we really want to understand our movement, we should look at it from different perspectives. One important perspective is to consider Srila Prabhupada's prayers in Vrindavan before he came to the West. And they're very paradoxical. The very first verse of that song, Prabhupada, he says that I'm here in Vrindavan and I'm all alone. How many of you have been to Vrindavan? Raise your hand, please. Okay, everybody. How many of you felt like you were alone in Vrindavan? Raise your hand. A few. That's nice. Huh? But generally, it's not a place you feel very lonely. Especially these days with the traffic coming in and all the congestion. And the monkeys and the dogs and the cows and just the people and the yatris. And how is it Prabhupada feels alone? Krishna's always with him. How does he feel alone? And there's so many deities in Vrindavan. How does Prabhupada feel alone? That is the first thing, is something we have to consider very carefully. And the next stanza, Srila Prabhupada explains, he said, yes, I have a wife, I have sons, I have daughters, I have grandsons, I have godbrothers, I have friends, but they're all useless. They have no value. Where are they now? And this, I would suggest, is the basis of our movement. These are Prabhupada's feelings. Later, in one lecture in London, Srila Prabhupada quoted this stanza, this line from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Ohi Vaishnava Thakur, Ekaki Amar Nahi Payabala Harinama Sankirtan. He was speaking to a group of interested non-devotees who were there. And Prabhupada told them, on my own, I have no strength to do this kirtan. And therefore, I'm coming here to you to ask for your help. Will you please join us in this kirtan? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna himself, he's feeling like this. This is the way a devotee feels, and therefore Prabhupada is singing this song, O Hey Vaishnava Thakur. This is about the feelings of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava by nature feels like, I need association with other devotees. That's the most important thing in my life. It was the most important thing for Krishna. When Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanting to understand the love of Srimati Radharani, Ekaki Yama Nahi Payabala Harinama Sankirtan. I can't do this by myself. And therefore, he took association with Gadadhar Pandit, with Swarup Damodar, with Roy Ramananda, with other devotees to do that kirtan. And in effect, in one sense, they trained him. It's a very paradoxical thing. In the first chapter of this Harinam Chintamani, which is a rather basic book, once Srila Prabhupada came into the room of Pradyumna, his disciple, who Prabhupada used to call Panditji, was staying, and Prabhupada saw a Bengali copy of Harinam Chintamani on Pradyumna Prabhu's desk, and Prabhupada said, why are you reading that book? Pradyumna was a little taken aback. He said, Prabhupada, it's a very nice book. It describes all the 10 offenses and like that. Prabhupada said, that's a beginning book. That's a very elementary book. And Prabhupada said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's best book is Jaiva Dharma and Chaitanya Siksamrita. Those are Prabhupada's favorite books. So Prabhupada expressed that about Harinam Chintamani. It's a very basic book. And the first chapter is the foundation of that basic book. And what does Bhaktivinoda speak about in the first chapter? How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jagannath Puri, and there in Jagannath Puri, he acted like a student. And he heard Mukti Tattva, the science of liberation, from the mouth of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And how he heard Nam Tattva from the mouth of Haridas Thakur. How he heard Sadhya Sadhana Tattva, the science about what is the goal and the means to attain it, from Roy Ramananda. And how he heard Rasa Tattva from the mouth of Rupa Goswami. And Bhaktivinoda goes on to explain in a footnote how this is a mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's the mood of empowering. Just as a little footnote, I'm contemplating Srila Prabhupada and how he accomplished his amazing movement in such a few years. I came to a personal conclusion that Prabhupada had practiced 4 elements. And I'll explain these to you and see if you agree with me or not. Love, trust, responsibility, and empowerment. Prabhupada many times said this movement is based on love and trust. The symptom of love is that you trust someone, right? You love Govinda, right? And you trust him, but that trust also has to be earned. If Govinda comes to you tomorrow and says, hey, Dad, you trust me, right? And you say, yes. Can I have the keys to the car? That trust, that he may say, well, you should have waited until you're at least 12 years old. Or 16 or whatever the legal age is here. That trust has to be earned. What is a symptom of trust? You're given responsibility. We have to earn that trust. Srila Prabhupada, he loved the devotees who came to him, and even those very early devotees like Jamuna and Guru Das and Mukunda and Janaki and others, when they first came, they didn't know anything. But Prabhupada loved them. Prabhupada trusted them. Prabhupada gave them responsibility. He told them, you go to London and preach. It was something that his sannyasi godbrothers couldn't do. It was too difficult for them. And now these are devotees, don't think that well, Shyamasundar Prabhu had his Bhakti Shastri degree, and I don't think they'd even read Bhagavad Gita yet. And Shyamasundar Prabhu had just gotten out of jail for selling drugs. But Prabhupada loved them. They weren't qualified like Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers. But Prabhupada loved them, Prabhupada trusted them, Prabhupada gave them responsibility, and the result, they were empowered. And this is a very, very important principle in our movement. I remember seeing a bumper sticker in America. America's a very envious place. And the sticker said that old age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill. It's a very envious statement. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who feel like that in this world. Some years ago, I'm getting a little off track, but I'd like this point. Gunachuda, our god sister, brought a group of young students that she had in Mayapur, young girls that were about from the ages of like 5 to 12 or something, to Puri for a parikrama. So I was taking them around different places and telling stories and doing what we do. We went to Tota Gopinath temple, had some katha, and as we were walking down the road together with these little girls, afterwards, one of the little girls, about 12 or something, came running up next to me, and she said, Prabhu, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And I stopped, and I said, no. And she looked a little shocked, maybe a little frightened, almost nervous. Maybe she said the wrong thing or something. I said, no, you should be better than me. Because you're coming from a devotee family, and I'm not. So I expect you should be better than me. And I'll never forget, in my life, the look on her face when I said that. Because we empowered her. And that's the function of this movement. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Mahavadanyaya avatar, also had to be empowered. And he took his empowerment from the devotees. And by doing so, he taught us what it means to be a devotee, that we take help from other devotees, that we learn from them, as he learned from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Haridas Thakur, Roy Ramananda, Rupa Goswami, and others. So Mahaprabhu was surrounded by his associates. Charaparana Kula Bhaktira Najai. Charaparana, although the gopis have been burned to ashes, still they don't die. What is the meaning of that? We were just reading in the previous line, a few lines ago, Mathura, Mathura, Boli Kore Vilap. That Mahaprabhu was crying out, Mathura, Mathura, crying. And Shani sometimes, Ba, Akrura, Boli Kore Anutap. He's lamenting, Akrura, Akrura. He's thinking about the gopis taking Krishna, Akrura taking Krishna away from the gopis. We do some seminar about this subject too, about Krishna leaving Vrindavan. We suggest at least 4 different answers that we know about how Krishna doesn't leave Vrindavan. And we suggest that this subject matter of Krishna leaving Vrindavan, going to Mathura and going to Dwarka, and apparently, from Tattva Vichar, from the consideration of the text itself, apparently Krishna never returned. Now, our Goswamis have explained in different purports that Krishna did return to Vrindavan, and there's some evidence in an indirect way in the Bhagavatam and direct way in the Padma Purana and some other literatures. But I would suggest it's the greatest mystery of the Bhagavatam. The Brijvasis are supposed to be the persons that Krishna loves more than anyone. And he leaves them. And from the Bhagavatam, he never returns. No one could understand that until Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. And the 6 Goswamis. And Rupa Goswami wrote Lalita Madhav. And Ujjvala Nilamani, which both gives some explanation. Raghunath Das Goswami wrote his Mukta Charit, which gives some explanation. And Sanatana Goswami wrote his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which gives some explanation. It was a great, great mystery. This is the most important. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in one purport, he says that how did Krishna leave Vrindavan? Is it that the gopis' love was not so strong? Kubja's love was better in Mathura, or the Mahishis, the queens in Dwarka, their love is more powerful than the love of the gopis in Vrindavan? And Rupa Goswami says, no, their love is greater, the gopis' love is greater. And then the question comes, well, then why did he leave them? And Vishwanath gives a beautiful explanation. He says that just as a goldsmith wants to show the value of gold, and so what does he do? He can hold it up to you, but you don't know. Maybe it's made out of plastic, or maybe it has some other elements in it or something. So he heats it. He melts the gold. And when the gold is melted, then you can ascertain the purity of the gold. And so in a similar way, to show the world the love of the gopis, Krishna melted their hearts, and he applied the heat of Vipralamba Agni, the fire of separation, to their hearts. And then in this way, everyone could understand and see the glory of the gopis' love for Krishna. So this is why Nayananda Das is singing, that Mahaprabhu was saying, Mathura Mathura Bodhi Kori Adilap Shani Ba Akrura Bodhi Kori Antam. He's calling out Mathura Mathura, calling out Krura and crying. And then he's speaking about the gopis, Charaparana Kula Bhatvira Natai, how they've been burned to ashes. But still, they don't give up their lives. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking this. And then, full of distress, Kahite Akula Pahum, Dulaya Lota, he starts rolling on the ground and crying and crying. And then Nayananda mentions his guru, Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Kande, Prananata Loya Kole. He says that Gadadhar Pandit then is crying when he sees that Mahaprabhu is crying. Prananata Loya Kole, and then he embraces the master of his life, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Roy Ramananda Kande. Roy Ramananda is crying. Pranaya Vikale. Just like a person in the waves of a typhoon out at the sea is being tossed back and forth by the waves of ecstatic love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarupa Sri Rupa Kande Sonana Vilas. Sri Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda are also crying and crying. Nabujia Kande. Nayananda Das. Says Nabujia, not understanding these pastimes, but Kande, crying nevertheless. Nayananda Das writes this song. So this is the Kirtan of our Sampradaya. And yesterday we were explaining Mahaprabhu's instructions about Kirtan from Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he says there, Jadi Ama, Pratisneha, Pati, Sabakar, Tabi Krishna Vyati Rikta Nagai Vyati. Mahaprabhu told the devotees, he said, if you love me, you love my instructions. And don't chant any other name but Krishna's name. Don't chant my name. Otherwise, why not chant Mahaprabhu's name? Isn't it better? Isn't it better? Why chant Hare Krishna? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada writes very clearly that there's no offenses to be considered in chanting the names of Gaura and Nitai, but there's offenses to be considered when we're chanting the name of Krishna. Nevertheless, Srila Prabhupada, in one purport I was reading today, he says that, maybe I can find this later, the reference. He says that some sahajiyas, some persons have concocted a new mantra. As we were mentioning a few days ago, some people think, oh, I'm a very special person, so I'm going to come and give you all a new type of sadhana. And indirectly, what I would be trying to say is that I am a greater personality than my guru. I'm a greater personality than Srila Prabhupada. I'm greater than Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. I'm greater than Rupa Goswami. Because I know something that nobody else has given. Indirectly, that's what's being stated. I have a real problem with that. And therefore, we want to speak about the subject, the Kirtan of our Sampradaya. And yesterday, we were speaking something, just to look back again, about the connection between Smarana and Kirtan. And somehow some Vaishnavas, they consider, oh, you ISKCON people, I've had devotees tell me this directly in Orissa, that it's really good that you're chanting Hare Krishna. Good for you. In your next life, maybe you can take birth here in Orissa and you can become a Vaishnava. They speak like that. My Guru Maharaj didn't speak like that. Our Srila Prabhupada didn't speak like that. And I feel very offended by that on behalf of our movement. And sometimes they say that it's nice you're chanting Hare Krishna, but that's for Vaidhi Bhakti. That's for kindergarten students. But the real thing is Smarana. Smarana is a higher thing. And sometimes devotees in our society even get affected by these kind of ideas. It was happening during the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And yesterday, we read some letter that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta wrote to one of his disciples. And he was criticizing this nonsense. He said, you chant the holy name and everything will come automatically. It's in a natural way. And we spoke about how some people, they're trying to artificially, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used that word, they're trying to artificially remember. But it's just a kind of illusion, a kind of imagination. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Harinam Chintamani, he states that Name Prasvatita Hoy Rupa Guna Karma, that the holy name will naturally develop to the point where you see Krishna's form, you understand Krishna's qualities, and you see Krishna's pastimes. What Srila Prabhupada gave us is perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect for us. It's perfectly high. Everything is there. We should have faith in it and not give it up for some phantasmagoria, some pie in the sky. If someone tells you, oh, you've been chanting for 10 years and you still haven't seen Krishna, you still don't have ecstatic symptoms, come with me. You should do Smarana. And we spoke in depth about this Smarana and how Smarana means Marana. Now, remembrance means death. That you can only remember Krishna when you're dead materially. Otherwise, that wicked mind, it's always going. I know some persons have been married for 6 times. 6 times they were married. I know one devotee who was married, I think 7 times now. 6 times you're married. And still you're looking at young girls and thinking, 6 times it didn't work, but maybe this one will be different. We have that hope. And we're always in this material world is a place of hope. It's a place of false hopes, though. It's better to live in reality, because reality, no matter how depressing it is always preferable to illusion, no matter how cheerful the illusion is. And so people in this world, they're thinking, maybe this one will be different. Maybe this guy will be a good guy. Maybe this girl will be a good girl. Maybe this opportunity for pleasure and happiness will be satisfying where it wasn't before. But we have to become hopeless. There's no hope. And this Dukkalayama Sasvatam, it has a stamp on it. This material world, a place of misery and suffering. That's what you're going to find here. If we associate with devotees, as we've been speaking, and from the Sapata Tantra, Hari Lila, Satochara Pareshu Satatam Toya Kaya Kritistava Hare Yata Bhakti Nanashiti, if we associate with devotees for the purpose of hearing and chanting, we can develop love for them. And that love is not false. That love is real. I once gave a talk in Ukraine and Odessa some years ago, before the war. And I was speaking from Srila Prabhupada and different things, how we should learn to love the devotees. And one brahmachari friend was sitting in the front, and when I finished, his hand shot up, and he looked a little bit stern. And he said, Prabhuji, there's no such thing as love in this material world. And Prabhupada says it. There's one letter, Prabhupada uses those exact words. And I told him, and I said, that's a fact. I said, but we don't want to live in the material world. We want to live in the spiritual world. And therefore, in one lecture in 1968 in Los Angeles, Srila Prabhupada said that just as we love Krishna, we should learn to love the devotees. But how do we love them? We love them for Krishna Kirtan, for Krishna Kirtan, because ekaki manahi payabala harinama sankirtan. On my own, I don't have the strength to do this Kirtan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed the devotees, don't chant my name. Chant Krishna's name. Jadi ama krati sneha taki sabakar. If you love me, you love my instructions. If we love Srila Prabhupada, it's not just, Prabhupada, I love you, and you gave me Govinda's restaurant, and you gave me so many important things. But what am I going to do with it? How are you going to live your life? And how am I going to remember what Srila Prabhupada gave and what Prabhupada wanted? That's a real sign of our love. And I don't know the year. Srila Prabhupada wrote one Vyas Puja from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, and he spoke to his godbrothers, and he said, Mahotsava Falafali Nahi, Falafali Mahotsava Nahi. He said that just having some fruits and flowers, that's not a Vyas Puja festival. But remembering instructions of Gurudev and coming together and discussing amongst ourselves how we're going to fulfill those instructions. That's the real Vyas Puja. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, if you love me, you love my instructions. Don't chant my name. Chant the name of Krishna. Now, why is he saying that? Sometimes devotees, they think that chanting the name of Radharani is better. And indeed, in the Gaur Govinda Smarana Archana Paditi, it's stated that Vina Radha Prasadena Krishna Prapti Najayate. That without Radharani, you can't get Krishna. The first day, we spoke, I'm trying to look back a little bit to try to connect everything. The first day we spoke a little bit about how Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said that Krishna Kirtan, if you only have Krishna Kirtan, it's not sufficient. Just like having Krishna by himself, it's not appropriate. Radharani should always be there. And Krishna, his Swarup Shakti is Srimati Radharani. The Swarup Shakti of Krishna Nam is Krishna Kirtan. And therefore Srila Prabhupada would always do Kirtan, and then he'd have Krishna Katha, and then he'd do Kirtan. You don't separate the two. So Vina Radha Prasadi, that without the mercy of Radha, Krishna Prapti Najayati. You can't get Krishna. Tata Shri Radhika Krishna Smaraniyo Susamyuto. Therefore we should always think of Radha and Krishna together. We can't separate them. And Raghunath Das Goswami, without going into the Sanskrit, because we only have a little time, in his Swaniyama Dasukam, he says some very beautiful things. He says that not even for a moment am I going to go near a hypocrite who worships Krishna but doesn't worship Radharani. I don't want to see his face. He's a big Krishna bhakta. He's chanting 3 lakhs a day. He's a big Krishna Bhakta, but he doesn't worship Srimati Radharani. I don't want to see their face. Huh? And he says that even if I'm suffering from separation from Radha Krishna, if I hear that someone comes to me and says, Prabhu, you just got a letter, Krishna wants you to come and see him in Dwarka. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, I won't go. Krishna's personally sending me a message, I want you to come. Raghunath Das Goswami says, forget it. No way, I'm not going. He said, but if I hear that maybe out of some madness or for whatever reason, Radharani has gone to Dwarka, with no invitation, I'm running there. Because this is the nature of our line. We're more attached to Srimati Radharani than to Krishna. I heard a story that on one occasion, some disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta went to their Guru Maharaj at Radhakund and said, Gurudev, such and such disciple of yours, he's become really advanced. He stopped chanting Hare Krishna. And now he's just chanting Radhe, 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 and he's crying. And he's become a very advanced devotee. Isn't that what we want? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, wow, that's very special. Do you know what will happen if you chant the two syllables, Radha? And he quoted some verses. Ra Shabdam Krivate Trasto Dadani Bhaktan Uttamam. If you just chant the first syllable, Ra, then you get the topmost bhakti. Krishna says this in Brahma-vivarta Purana. Then Ta Shabdam Krivata Paschadyami Shravana Lobhata. And then when he hears the second syllable, Da, Krishna personally comes there. That's pretty good, isn't it? But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, we have a better program. What is a better program? We chant the name Krishna, and someone else comes. Radharani comes. So trying to understand the Kirtan of our Sampradaya. Don't think of it just in terms of what can I get out of this? What's going to be best for me? Every person who does sadhana, they're doing it to achieve a sadhya, a goal. They have some, it's kind of like a business. Okay, I'm going to do this thing and I get this thing in return. And every sadhak practicing sadhana is doing in that way. But think about the sadhana of Sarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who are being glorified in the song by Nayananda Das. What did they want? Yapratiyatu sadhana. They didn't want anything for themselves. Sometimes, just as a little footnote, literature's been my life. My mother was a librarian. And I'm working with a research institute now in Pori. And literature's always been very close to my heart. And I've heard some of my friends who like literature express some doubt that how is it that that books like, I'm afraid to even say the name of the books. I may get censored and get in trouble, but books like Govinda Lilamrita. We did it. Nobody said anything. Okay. Krishna Bhavanamrita. Or Lalita Madhav, Vidagda Madhav, Ujjal Nilamani. They're illegal books. Okay. All right, I got it. Illegal books, too high for me. I can't go there. Okay. But I'm supposed to read this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? We should all read that. And I'm reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's full of quotes from Lalita Madhav, Ujjal Nilamani, Govinda Lilamrita, and other such literatures. And don't we become a little confused then? It seems a little unjust. How you're saying one thing, but there's another thing being practiced. What we don't understand is what I like to call the Gora Gambira Bhajan Pranali. The Gambira Bhajan Pranali. What is the system of bhajan in the Gambira? Roy Ramananda and Sri Damodar, they were singing songs of Vidyapati and Chandidas, Jayadev. One friend of mine a year ago came to me and he's telling me he wants to translate some songs of Vidyapati, a book. I said, well, that's nice. I'm not sure who it's going to be for. And I'm not trying to speak in a fanatical, heavy kind of way. You shouldn't read that book. But really, who is that book meant for? If you study the songs of Vidyapati, I've stuck my nose in there a little bit. Those songs are very difficult to understand because those songs express the mood, the feelings and emotions of Srimati Radharani. Those songs were sung to please her. And that's what Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda are doing. When Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the biggest mission, the mission impossible, to taste the love of Srimati Radharani, his greatest devotee, he couldn't do it. Ekaki ama nahi paya bala. Harinama saying he didn't have the strength to do it. He didn't have the rasa to do it because how do I worship myself? I don't know. And what is Radharani's mood like? There's a book, a wonderful book, Narottam Vilas by Narahari Chakravarti Thakur. It's been translated in ISKCON. But in the Bengali, there's a few different editions. But in one edition is a Narahari Ir. There's an appendix given by one of the disciples of Narahari Chakravarti, which speaks something about the life of Narahari. And wow, it's really amazing because it's important for us. We want to know something about the author. What is his mood? What is his qualification? Is he bona fide? What are his feelings and things? And he tells a story in there, which I'll briefly recount to you, that Narahari, he was a grand disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He never got to meet him, but he was always hearing about him. I really related to that right away. Because when I joined ISKCON in 1982, just a few years after Srila Prabhupada left, in Los Angeles, they used to take us to Chevy Hills Park in Venice Beach, and this is where Prabhupada walked, and here's Prabhupada's rooms, here's Prabhupada's books, and Prabhupada's bed, and they'd have these Prabhupada nights in here. And I'm thinking, man, I could have been here. I just missed out. So Narahari Chakravarti was feeling something like that. And he was in the temple of Govindaji one day, and the devotees were speaking to him about the glories of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other exalted devotees, associates of Mahaprabhu. And Narahari lost it. He just started crying and crying, and he fell down on the ground, weeping, and he started rolling. For those of you who've been to Vrindavan, he rolled all the way from the temple of Govindaji to the temple of Gopishwar Mahadev, which I don't know, what is that? 2 kilometers or something. It's a bit of a distance. He rolled on the ground all the way there and was crying and crying. And what am I doing? My life is useless. I haven't gotten to meet Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the devotee. And he fell unconscious. And at that time, he saw his Gurudev, Vishwanath Chakravarti, who appeared to him and took him by the hand and said, "Hey, Narahari, come here. Look who's here." And he pointed out, there's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he said, "Look over there." And he looked over there and he saw the golden dancer, Prem Purushottam, Sachinandana, Gaurahari, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing with Nityananda Prabhu beside him, and Gadadhar Pandit crying, and Advaitacharya beside him, jumping up and down, shouting, "Hari Bol, Hari Bol." And all the devotees around. And Narahari was feeling very ecstatic. And it's a long story. I'm going to tell it a little briefly. Nityananda Prabhu seeing him, now who is this rascal? He said, he was pleased with him actually. But Nityananda is a bit without a dude. Nityananda Prabhu said, "You deserve punishment. And I'm going to punish you right now." And he grabbed him by the hair and forcibly put his head on the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was his punishment. Pretty good punishment. And suddenly, that beautiful vision of Mahaprabhu and his associates disappeared. And in place, because they're at Gopishwar Mahadev, which is right next to, anybody say, the other important place in Vrindavan is Gopishwar Mahadev next to? The Rasastali. Vamsivat. He saw Vamsivat. And he saw Radha and Krishna, and Radharani was on a throne. And he saw an amazing thing, that Krishna had come to Radharani, and Krishna was crying. And Krishna was saying, hey, Radhe, please, I'm a very poor person. I have to repay my debt to you. Please give me your bhav. Give me your love. Because if I borrow 1,000 rupees from my friend, Nandajit Prabhu, and then I come back to him and say, you know, I don't have 1,000 rupees, but here's 12,000. I don't have 1,000 euros, but here's 12,000 rupees. Will he be happy? He's a very generous person. He might be okay. Any businessman will say, no, I want euros. I gave you euros, I want euros back. So the debt is calculated according to the currency that it was given in. And this is a debt of love. So it has to be paid in that debt. And Krishna says, I don't have that love. That's with you. And Radharani became very shy. She said, what do you want with the love of this mad woman? They call me Pagalini Radha. Mad Radha? No, I can't give you that. And then Krishna approached Lalita. Hey, Lalita, you please give me this love of your friend. And Lalita, she said, you don't know the nature of Radharani's love. When she feels separation from you, she goes completely mad. And I'm the only one who can say anything to her. So, you have to work this out between the two of you, she says. And so Krishna was begging Radharani, please give me your love. And then Radharani, she said, but what do you want with my love? If you have my love, then you're going to be rolling on the ground in separation and crying. And your body is soft like butter. You just touch your body. You can, some, you call it, impression is made on that. Huh? So she said, when you go, then I'll cover your body. I'll embrace you and I'll cover your body so that when you cry and you roll on the ground, your body won't be hurt. And therefore, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, Radha Bhava Dhyuti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Surupam. That he's Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but Radha Bhava Dhyuti, the mood and the complexion of Radharani is covering Mahaprabhu. And then Narahari Chakravarti saw all that, pretty good, better than television. And he saw all that, and then suddenly it all disappeared. And excuse me, he saw Radha and Krishna, important point, become Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then everything disappeared, and again he was back again in Vrindavan. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, when the devotees approached him and said, you have this disciple, he's just chanting Radhe, Radhe, he's so advanced. Srila Bhakti, that's okay, we have a better program. Our program is we chant Krishna, Krishna, and someone else comes. If you go to the Kunj of Radha, I hope all of you someday go to the Kunj of Radha. And you show up there and you say, you want to be accepted, you want to be appreciated, right? So you go there and you say, Radhe, 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 Radhe. Radharani may look at you and say, what are you doing? Go away. What are you chanting that for? But if you go there and you chant Krishna, Krishna, Radharani becomes very, very pleased. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, we have a better program. Krishna Nama Gane, Radharika Charana Pai, Radhanama Gane Krishna Chandra. By chanting Krishna's name, you'll attain Radha. And by chanting Radharani's name, Narottam says, I attain Krishna. This is our program. And many places, I've collected a few teachings. When we spoke, we suggested we wanted to speak something about the bhajan of Radharani. What is that bhajan? So here's a few things from Srila Prabhupada's books. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 8, Ramananda Roy is speaking to Mahaprabhu, and he tells him this verse, Krishna Nama Guna Yasa Avatang Sakani Krishna Nama Guna Yasa Pravaha Vachani. That Radharani, she has earrings, because all girls like to wear earrings. The earrings of Radharani are the name, fame, and qualities of Krishna. Krishna Nama Guna Yasa Pravaha Vachani. And the glories of Krishna's name, fame, and qualities are always inundating her speech. Shri Radhikaya Priyapti Surupata Susila Tanartana Gana Chatari Gunali Sampat Kavitana Rajate Jaganmano Mohana Chitta Mohini. Madhya Lila chapter 17 quotes this verse from Govinda Lilamrita. The female parrot is speaking. And the parrot says, Radharani's affection, her exquisite beauty and good behavior, her artistic dancing and chanting, and her poetic compositions are all so attractive that they attract the mind of Krishna, who attracts the mind of everyone in the universe. So Krishna wanted to repay his debt to the gopis, but he didn't have the wealth. Now, if I owe my debt to Anandajit Prabhu, the 1,000 euros or whatever it is, and he comes and says, give me the money, I don't have the money, then the first thing he says, hey, go get a job, right? But then I go and everybody says, you're a useless Hare Krishna. Why would we want to hire you? You're no good person. I can't get a job. So then the next thing is maybe I'll go on the street and I'll beg. Please, I have to repay this guy. He's going to break my kneecaps. He's going to do something very bad. I have to repay this debt. But nobody will give me any money. I say, oh, go get a job. I know I tried. So if you beg, you try to borrow, none of those things work. There's only one thing left. You have to steal. And Rupa Goswami, in his Bhuttiya Chaitanashtakam, he says that Sanskrit slipped my mind, that Krishna entered into the heart of Radha and he stole her bhav. That's the only way that he could repay her. He has to come, yapratiyatu sadhana, as a devotee, as a sadhu, doing the same sadhana, experiencing the same feelings that she does. But it's a whole new world for him. He's used to being God. He's not used to being a devotee. And so he had to go to school. He had to have some teachers. So that Gambhira is the school. It's also compared to a stage sometimes. And just as a stage, separating the stage from the audience, there's a curtain. And outside that curtain of the Gambhira is what? Is Tota Gopinath. And you have Gadadhar Pandit, who's speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu's going there regularly. Gadadhar Pandit, in effect, is teaching Mahaprabhu how to taste Radha Bhav, what kind of emotions it is. In his favorite chapters, they were reciting again and again with Dhruva Charit and Prahlad Charit, not 10th canto, but Dhruva Charit. Why? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta explained, because Radharani likes to hear about people who have a similar difficult situation as her. And Dhruva Maharaj has problems, and Prahlad Maharaj has problems attaining the Lord. And so in the mood of Radha, Mahaprabhu relishes that, and that's the internal reason. The external reason, he says, is to teach us the Pratishloki, Pratyakshi. Every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is important. And you don't just jump to the 10th canto, but it's all important. So when he wanted to taste the mood of Radha, he required someone to teach him this. So Radharani herself came as Gadadhar Pandit. But still, if we're going to do a drama, and I'm going to play Anandajit in the drama, right? And I go to him and I say, Anandajit Prabhu, please tell me your inner bhav, your inner mood. And he may say, out of his humility, he has a lot of bhav, but he may say, I don't have any. So if I want to understand his inner bhav, I can't go to him. Krishna couldn't go to Radharani. She's very humble. So you have to go to someone who's very close to you, to that person. Because sometimes a very close friend knows you better than you know yourself. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Srup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who are Lalita and Vishaka. And this is a Gambhira Bhajan Pranali. Everyone else is doing bhajan for their own benefit, but not Srup Damodar and Roy Ramananda. And in the Kirtan of our Sampradaya, the devotees are not doing it for their benefit. They're doing it because they want to give their ashirvad, their blessing, to Krishna. We know you want to taste Radharani's mood, so we want to bless you. We want to try to help you with it. So everyone is doing that kirtan. And Srup Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda Lalita and Vishaka. They're reciting songs of Chandidas, Vidyapati, Jayadev, Govamangala Thakur, which all speak about the mood of Srimati Radharani, to help Krishna, who's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to know how to taste the mood of Radharani. So many things. I want to speak something more about the mood of Radharani and her bhajan. In Krishna book, chapter 30, I'll read you what Prabhupada writes. So after doing the Ras Leela, and Krishna disappeared, Prabhupada writes, unable to find Krishna and completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, the gopis gathered on the bank of the Jamuna and chanted the names of Krishna. All the gopis, including Radharani, began to proceed further into the forest until they could no longer see the moonlight. When they saw that it was getting gradually darker, they stopped. Their mind and intelligence became absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. They all imitated the activities of Krishna and his speeches. Due to their heart and soul being completely given to Krishna, they began to chant his glories, completely forgetting their family interests. In this way, all the gopis assembled together on the bank of the Jamuna, and expecting that Krishna must return to them, they simply engaged in the chanting of the glories of Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll read you a few other things. It's so nice what Prabhupada says about Radharani's bhajan. This is from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 31. One sentence. Radharani's sense of hearing is eternally fixed on Krishna's name and fame. And this is from Nectar Devotion, chapter 30. When Srimati Radharani first saw Krishna, she suddenly became conscious of all transcendental happiness, and the functions of her different limbs were stunned. When Lalita, her constant companion, whispered into her ear the holy name of Krishna, Radharani immediately opened her eyes wide. This is an instance of alertness caused by hearing the sound of Krishna's name. Another statement from Nectar Devotion, chapter 29. One day, Srimati Radharani was churning yogurt for Krishna. At that time, the jeweled bangles on her hands were circling around, and she was also chanting the holy name of Krishna. All of a sudden, she thought, I'm chanting the holy name of Krishna, and my superiors, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law may hear me. By this thought, Radharani became over-anxious. This is an instance of feeling guilty because of devotion to Krishna. Nectar Devotion, chapter 27, Prabhupada says, one gopi informed Krishna that when Srimati Radharani was singing about his glories, she enchanted all of her friends in such a way that they all became stone-like and dull. At the same time, the nearby stones began to melt away in ecstatic love. This is the Kirtan of Srimati Radharani. But when you speak about someone's Kirtan, someone's bhajan, someone's feelings, at what point in their life are you speaking about? When someone's a student in the university, when someone's a newly married person, when they have their first child, when they have their first grandchild, when they're about to leave their body. At what point are we speaking about? If we study this from the perspective of debt, Krishna's in debt to Radharani. So then, obviously, the debt is going to be calculated from the highest denomination, from the highest number. So what is the highest ecstasy of Srimati Radharani? When Krishna left this world. And he told the gopis when he left, he said, Ayasya, I'm going to return. But he didn't return. Our Guru Maharaj sang this song, which Anandajit, I think you can pass out. You've already got it? Beginning with the words, Jamuna Tattani Kule. We'll go ahead and sing this. Jamuna Tattini Kule Kele Kadambira Mule Mure Loye Chala Lotvaya. Jamuna Tatini Kule, Kadambira Mule Mure Loi Anti Mera Bandhu Hoy Jamuna Motika Loi Saki Murali Pasara Kai Anti Mera Bandhu Hoy Jamuna Motika Loi Saki Murali Sakina Mataru Pari Likasava Sahachari Kashiru Jari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Anandaji, you told me you gave it up. You didn't give it up.
Yeah, but it's not opening the PDF.
Oh, okay. Anyway, she's got it. You want a copy, just be nice to me. She'll let you have it. So this song has a very deep purport to it. Srimati Radharani, one day she calls for her sakis and she says, Jamuna Tatani Kule, Keli Kadambera Mule Morilai Chalalotrai. Take me to the bank of the Jamuna. And there is my friend, the Kelly Kadamba tree. Why is that Kelly Kadamba tree my friend? Because it was under that tree that I met my Shyam Sundar, my Pranavallabha Krishna, many times. So take me there, Kelly Kadambera Mule. Mule means at the roots. Put me at the base of that tree. Morilai Chalalo Twayai. And I'm going to die. Anti Mera Bando Hoi Jamuna Murti Kaloi. So at that time, you take, because at that time that's my only friend, the Kelly Kadamba tree and the Jamuna. You take some of the mud, that blackish mud from the Jamuna, and smear it all over my body. Saki Mora Lipa Sarvagai. And then Lipa means to write. All of you gopis gather around me. Shamanama Tadupari Lipa Sahachari. You write in that mud, Sham, 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 the names of Krishna. Because Krishna and his names are non-different. And then Tulsi Manjari, in the printout, there's a typo, it has a dot under the S, it says Musjari, it's Manjari, Tulsi Manjari, D-O-Tai. Then you put Tulsi Manjaris on those names of Krishna, because Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna. Then Amari Beshtana, all of you gather around me in a circle. As we told you on the first day, keep your circle small. Come close together. Amare Beshtana Kori, Boli Sabha Hari Hari. You call out the names of Krishna very loudly. Jakona Purana Bahira. And that time I'll leave my body. So all of you come around me and very loudly you chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the Kirtan of our Sampradaya. And this is the origin of it. The origin of it, in one sense, is from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But in another sense, it goes further back than that. The origin of it is Srimati Radharani, in separation from Krishna. And her dying desire is all the gopis, her most intimate associates, gather around her and chant the names of Krishna. And then she'll leave her body. To repay his debt to Srimati Radharani, Yapratiyatu Sadhuna, Krishna had to come as a sadhu. He had to experience the same feeling that Srimati Radharani experiences. In Act 4 of Lalita Madhava, Rupa Goswami describes how Srimati Radharani, I don't even like to say it, it's so bad. He says that Radharani committed suicide. She drowned herself in the Jamuna. Then, of course, Radharani is eternal. She can't die. And she's taken by Jamuna Devi to Surya Dev, the Jamuna's brother. And Radharani, it's a long story, offers a flower to Surya Dev because she's worshiping Surya Dev. And I'm not going to go in that direction, it's too complicated. But my Guru Maharaj used to say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's bhajan is a desire for death. Because his bhajan is the same bhajan as Radharani. And if in this world, many people think that the most profound literature about the nature of love is what? Romeo and Juliet. Right? They consider that's the most profound book of love. And what is the story of Romeo and Juliet? It's about this couple who are separated and they die in separation basically from each other. So if that, the desire for death is the topmost thing, even the pastime of Romeo and Juliet, this mundane story written by Shakespeare, and then what to speak in Srimati Radharani, that desire is also there. And this was a desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so he came as Krishna to repay that debt. But he saw, I'm not able to do that. I need help. And so he took help from Sri Damodar and from Roy Ramananda. But they gave him some wealth because he has to have a lot of wealth to repay Radharani's love. He took some wealth, but it wasn't enough. And so Sri Damodar engaged Raghunath Das Goswami and engaged Rupa Goswami, and they engaged their followers in that same kirtan. And their followers engaged their followers, who engaged their followers, who engaged their followers, who engaged Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who engaged our Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada engaged all of us. And this is the kirtan of our Sampradaya. It's the feelings of Radharani when she's going to die. And she wants all of her sakhis around her, chanting the names of Krishna, which gives her some relief. And paradoxically, at that time of separation, she feels union because of the chanting of the holy names. In a similar way, Krishna wants to understand those feelings. So he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he can't do it alone. Ekaki yama nahi payabala hari nama sankirtan. I don't have the strength to do this on my own. So he required some help. And so he took the help of so many devotees, Murari and Mukunda and Haridas Thakur, but principally Sri Damodar and Roy Ramananda, Gadadhar Pandit. And even that wasn't enough. They engaged their followers, engaged their followers, engaged their followers. This is Nikunja Yuna Ratikeli Siddhyaya Yali Bir Yuktir Apekshaniya Tatsari Daksha Atibalabasya Bande Gurosha Charana. In the Srila Prabhupada in one lecture in Hawaii, he said that this verse means book distribution. This verse means preaching. We're speaking about all these really high things which I have no qualification for today, and you may be feeling some disdain for me correctly by speaking all these things. But it's actually a practical thing. It's actually what we should be doing on a daily basis. To go out and do Harinam, to go out and do book distribution. This is the kirtan of our Sampradaya. But we should understand it. And why we don't chant Radharani's name, or why we don't chant Gauranga Mahaprabhu's name or Nityananda Prabhu's name. We can. We can chant the name of Gurudev in Mexico City once. When Srila Prabhupada first went there, the devotees were so ecstatic. It was the first time they got to see Srila Prabhupada. They were so blissful. And they did some kirtan, and then Prabhupada went upstairs to his room, and the devotees for like, I don't know, half an hour, 1 hour or something, were chanting Jaya Prabhupada for 1 hour, non-stop. And Prabhupada finally called for Hridayananda Maharaj and said, what are they doing? He said, Prabhupada, they're chanting. I said, tell them to stop. Don't do that. We may chant the name of our Guru, sometimes we do, and it's very ecstatic. It's very ecstatic sometimes to chant Radhe Radhe, but there's something higher than that. And what's higher than that? Pleasing Gurudev. What's higher than that is pleasing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. And some people come and they'll tell you directly or indirectly with the sayings, I have something higher than what Srila Prabhupada gave. I know something more. I'm more advanced even than Rupa Goswami. I'm giving this sadhana, chanting the names of Gaura Nitai. It's so high. And he said, wow, that sounds really good. man, I'm going to sign up for that. But try to understand Kirtan of our Sampradaya. Try to understand this Gambhira Bhajan Pranali, Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda, who are chanting. Everyone else is chanting for their benefit. So I'll get liberation, so I'll get love of God, so I'll understand my rasa. Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda are not thinking about that. They're doing that kirtan for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a kirtan of our Sampradaya. This is what we've all been drafted into. It's inconceivable. It's the highest, most inconceivable thing that we can take part in this kirtan, which is meant to help Srimati Radharani mitigate her feelings of separation from Krishna. And she's come in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna, Nomi Krishna Srupam, but Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam. He's in the mood of Radha and with her complexion over him. So these are a few thoughts about the kirtan of our Sampradaya. These are things I heard directly or indirectly in classes or some personal instructions and comments from my revered spiritual master, Vishwanath Bhagavani Maharaj. And if I didn't hear directly from him, it was inspiration from him also. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Prabhuji, would you like to add any comments or anything? The boys would be happy. If you speak something. You have a microphone? He always keeps a microphone.
Surprise. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Well, Janakinath and myself, in Dutch and English, yeah. We drove all the way to Rotterdam. We took a few wrong exits, but we had a goal in mind. We like to sit at the feet of Madhavananda prabhu. I met him the first time.
You look higher than me. I'm at your feet.
You have to listen. You have to just tolerate all those people. Actually, I met Madhavananda prabhu for the first time ever in Radhadas last year. And then I was inquiring, who is this spiritual master? Because I don't know everyone's history, so many devotees, so many spiritual masters. And then he said, yeah, Gaur Govinda Maharaj. I said, oh, Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Of course, I met him when I was in Radhadas, this beginning of the 80s, actually Maharaj at that time. He visited Radhadas, and we were informed that when he speaks, he cannot stop. And at that time, he had a very strict schedule for Sankirtan and book distribution going out, at a certain time, and well, Maharaj started the Bhagavatam class, and we thought, well, it's 8:30 now, it should finish. Maybe a little longer, 8:45, 9 o'clock, and then we all forgot about time. Then it was like 9:30, 9:45, and we said, well, why doesn't he continue? So time, the factor of time just kind of disappeared when Maharaj was speaking with so much enthusiasm and so much love in his words. So I was very happy when I saw a fruit of his preaching last year in Radhadas in the form of Madhavananda prabhu. And I can only, what can I add? I can only show appreciation when we talk about the basement, the foundation, how Srila Prabhupada came to the West. Actually, today it's exactly 60 years ago, at least they celebrated today in Radhadas and many other temples.
Boston.
That Srila Prabhupada arrived in Boston from the Jaladutta. He came to the Western world. So it's a very memorable day that 60 years ago, the revolution started, the introduction of the holy name of Lord Krishna, all the information about Lord Krishna, his form, his pastimes, his name, his glories. We would have been still in great darkness if Srila Prabhupada would not have taken that bold decision to come to the Western world. And at the same time, we should also reflect on how many wonderful personalities have come forward to assimilate all this information, the practice of bhakti yoga, studying the scriptures, being able to share it with others. And one thing is, if you just know a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita, you have some technical information, but it's much more entering into the heart when you have devotees who actually have assimilated this information, they relish it, they really love to speak about it. Because then we come to that particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Matchita Madgada Prana Bodhayantas Parasparam Katyantas Chamam Nicha Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. Devotees who relish to hear about Krishna, really want to know more about Krishna as the goal of life, searches for the truth, they actually like to share this because it's so, like the example given of a glass of water that is overflowing. So those devotees, they love to share this, and they are also the gifts from Srila Prabhupada, and in this sense also from Gaur Govinda Maharaj, to the world, who continue to enlighten one another about the beautiful pastimes, the beautiful personality of Krishna, Radharani, and all their great associates. So for that reason, I just like to thank Madhavananda Prabhu that he has actually dedicated his life energy in trying to discover the absolute truth and studying all the scriptures, and Bodhiyantas Parasparam, that he's sharing this with all those who are interested, and in this way, Matchita Matgata Prana Tushanti Charamanti Cha, that we can actually be happy and joyful. Because the only, I cannot call it a thing, it should be the capital thing, but the only information, the only object that can really give us full satisfaction is actually to hear about Krishna. Otherwise, we will always be entangled in the circle of purchasing things. Purchase this, an object, purchase a nice friend, purchase another lover, like you said 6 times, 7 times, purchase another object to temporarily gratify our need for love and for happiness. So only by hearing about Krishna, in the association of this wonderful devotees like here, there's so many wonderful personalities who have assembled, only that can really satisfy the soul. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Gaur Govinda Maharaj, Jai Madhavananda Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
60 years today. Anybody else with anything? Okay? I get shy speaking in front of Jennifer. Madhavananda, you're bogus. Guru Maharaj knows. Janaki not knows. Anybody else with anything? I hope all of you can digest this. That's why we asked for discussion. I know this was really kind of over the top. Maybe it was past that. But we should understand something about these subject matters, even in a theoretical way. Gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we heard about Sri Damodar Goswami and Roy Ramananda speaking to Mahaprabhu in the Gambhira, and we have some theoretical understanding of it. At least we should know that it's there. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in one lecture at Radhakund one year, he said that for so many days we've been speaking about Anartha Nibritti. He said, but if you think that the goal is Anartha Nibritti, then you may become Nirvisesa Shunyavad, you may become impersonalist. Our goal is not Anartha Nibritti, to become free from desires. Our goal is Artha Prabritti. We want to know what is our goal, what is our purpose. So at least we should understand, even in a theoretical way, something about that. I'm not advocating any particular practice here, but we're speaking about a mentality of service. And the Guru Maharaj used to tell us that you're chanting, that's the best service. In Prabhupada, we were reading at the first day in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the most important service that a devotee can do is this chanting of 16 rounds every day. And in this verse that we recite, Nama Yagya Maha Yagya Kalo Kama Sanasanam Krishna Chaitanya Prityarte Nama Yagya Samarpanam. It's a Samarpana mantra. It means that the mantra that we use to offer our chanting, Nama Yagya Maha Yagya. This Nam Yagya is the highest yagya. How is it the highest yagya? Because this is a yagya to please Srimati Radharani. This is a yagya that Krishna is trying to understand Radharani's love. It doesn't get any higher than that. Nama Yagya Maha Yagya Kalo Kamasanasana. It destroys the evils of Kali Yuga. Krishna Chaitanya Prityarte. It's very, very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nama Yagya Samarpanam. Before we offer this mantra to Srila Prabhupada. We offer this chanting to Srila Prabhupada. We offer it to all of our acharyas. This is a kirtan of our Sampradaya. And ultimately we're offering it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna, he was trying to collect money. He's doing a fundraiser. Trying to collect the wealth to repay his debt to Radharani. And it's such an inconceivable debt that we need the whole universe to chant. Okay, anybody with anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have two questions.
Okay.
Like you said, if we want to please Srimati Radharani, then we should chant Krishna actually. That's the goal of our Sampradaya, of our Kirtan of our Sampradaya. But then in the Mahamantra says actually with Hare, Srimati Radharani. So please explain something about it.
First time I read Harinam Chintamani in Bengali, I'm not a very good Bengali. I can read, but I don't understand so much. I was reading with another local devotee, and we were reading in the conclusion of it, and Bhaktivinoda gives an anagram. An anagram is where each sentence begins with a letter, and he was giving an explanation of the Hare Krishna mantra. So the first sentence began with Ha, the next one Re, like this. He gave the whole Hare Krishna mantra, and he was explaining different meaning. And what I'm going to say is really a bit kind of intimate and a little bit erotic, but we're going to give an explanation of it. In Harinam Chintamani, we were shocked. Harinam Chintamani, Prabhupada said it's a very basic book, but in that book it says that Hare means that Krishna is stealing the underwear of Srimati Radharani. That's what's said. And we were, what? And I remember my friend who was reading, he didn't appreciate that for whatever reason. And later I was contemplating that really deeply. And I was comparing that explanation of the Mahamantra to other explanations. It's a little similar to Raghunath Das Goswami's explanation. But there's another explanation given by Jan Chandra Goswami. And there's a few other different explanations, and all of them basically say that Hare is Radha. So then why is he? Now, Guru Maharaj sometimes would say that here in this world, Hare means Radha, but in the spiritual world, Gopis and Radharani, they're chanting this mantra, and they're thinking it means Hari, it means Krishna. And Hari means someone who steals. So then I came to understand, if you contemplate very deeply what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying at the end of Harinam Chintamani, it's such a beautiful thing. It's a Gambhira Bhajan Pranam. His understanding of the Mahamantra is not for his pleasure. He's chanting the Mahamantra to please Radharani. Because Radharani likes to hear that Krishna's taking away her undergarments and behaving in that kind of way. So the chanting is not for him, the chanting is for Radharani. So we can understand it in either way. Hare means Radha in general, but sometimes Raghunath Das Goswami in his commentary and Bhaktivinoda both explain that it can also mean Hari, who steals away, who takes. Is that helpful? A little bit of esoteric. Anything else you have?
Yeah, this other question is, it is, I heard this mantra is also in the Vedas, but it starts with Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Is it different, or is the same?
Some of you may have met one of of my dear friends and teachers. His name was Fakir Mohan. He came here a number of times. He was a childhood friend of my Guru Maharaj. He met Srila Prabhupada when Prabhupada came to Bhubaneswar in 1977. He's an amazing person. I was there next to his bed when he left his body. And we were doing Kirtan for him. He was born in Janmashtami at midnight. And it's a long story. It's really like something out of Chaitanya Charitamrita. But he was close friends with our Guru Maharaj. And he was a scholar. He, at the age of 12, ran away from home to become a sadhu. And he went to the Purushottam Mutt in Jagannath Puri. And later his father was searching for his son, found him there. And the boy told his father, look, Dad, you know where I'm at here. Now, if you take me home again, I'm going to run away again because I just want to dedicate my life to Krishna. But next time you won't know where I'm at. So at least here you know where I'm at. You can get news of me. So he agreed. And he was staying. And he was a good boy. And he used to tell us that with tears in his eyes, he would say, I came to do Vaishnava Seva. And he was so happy washing the clothes of the devotees and serving them. He said, now I'm an old man and they're doing service for me. They're washing my clothes and doing things. And it was very painful for him. So at one point, the devotees in the mutt there, they said, look, you're a young man. You should go to the university. You should go to school and study. He went to school. He was really a good student. So then his guru told him, you should go to the university, get a PhD in Sanskrit, and you should preach. And it was very painful for him. His students, later he had many PhD students himself. They used to call him sadhu. And he became one of our Guru Maharaj once commented, he said, he knew more about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu than anyone on the planet. Mahaprabhu was, and why am I giving all this as a forward to your comment? I asked him this question. Because he was a research scholar. We started our research institution at his request. He asked me to do that. I asked him why in some manuscripts the Maha Mantra is given Hari Ram first. And I'm just going to repeat what he told me. I don't know, I haven't done that research, but he did. I'm just depending on him now in this case. But he said that in the oldest manuscripts that he saw, it was Hare Krishna first. But in some of the later manuscripts, it was changed. And so Ramanandi Vaishnavas, who, like Ramachandra, they changed the order, and they put Hari Ram first. But in the older manuscripts, it was given Hare Krishna first. That's my long explanation for this simple question. Okay. Anything with anybody else?
At one point you slightly touched the container of Gaura. So sometimes we hear that Gauranga is the combination of Radha and Krishna. Two bodies became one. But also we hear that no, it's Gaura in the mood of Radha Bhava. So I wonder which of those is a proper understanding. Is it Gaura singing the bhajan of Radha, perhaps?
They're both correct. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in one famous song, he said, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anya. The Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combined form of Radha Krishna. Specifically, how does that work? As we were citing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think it's the 5th verse in Adhyaya chapter 1. Radha Bhava Dyuti, Sudalitam, no Krishna Swarupa. If you pick that verse apart very carefully, let me back up a little bit. There are some Vaishnavas, some Gaudiya Vaishnavas, particularly in the Advaita Parivar, in that line of Advaita Acharya, who don't appreciate Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's conception about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They want to quarrel about it. Some people just want to quarrel about everything. And their particular concern is they say that Radha and Krishna didn't become one. That's impersonal philosophy. How can they become one? But I find that a little bit semantic, meaning it's just about some language thing. It's really not a problem. because whether they actually physically merged into one body and became one, or it was something on a more subtle level, I don't think is really very important. The point is that Radha and Krishna became one. Jiva Goswami in his Yugalashtaka prayers, he says that Jivanema Vanigati Nahim are more, that in life and death, Radha and Krishna are my everything. And he says that in the heart of Krishna is Radha, and in the heart of Radha is Krishna. So, Nomi Krishna Swarupa, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam. He's covered with the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. That's prominent in him. So, yes, they became one in that sense, but at the same time, he's still Krishna. And as Krishna, he's coming with these three desires, Shiradaya, Pranaya, Mahima, Kirti, Saloganaya. That's the sixth verse. Anadi Lila, very important verse, describing the three different reasons why Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has that particular purpose. He's in the mood of Radha, but it's not that he's, in one sense, it's not that he's totally forgotten his identity. Sometimes he remembers, sometimes he doesn't. But his purpose is always there. He wants to taste the mood of Radha. And I didn't get into it in this talk because there's so many things. But this is why he took sannyas. What is the necessity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's taking sannyas? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's sannyasi cha yogi cha nirajnana chakriya. Krishna says in the Gita that the sannyasi is someone who sannyasi cha yogi cha nirajnana chakriya. He doesn't do any work. He's detached from sin. This is why someone takes sannyas. So, why does he need to take sannyas? For those reasons. But in the Chaitanya Mangal, Lochandas Thakur begins in his Mangal Charana chapter. He says, Oneka Rahasya Kata. Kohibe Kata is, I'm going to tell you many Oneka Rahasya Kata, many confidential things, such as Vairagya Adbhuta, Prabhu Adbhuta Jainamati, the astonishing renunciation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we, sometimes devotees say, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take sannyas? I would suggest that if someone asks that question, they really don't understand Siddhanta. The question is not why did he take sannyas. The real question is, how could he take sannyas? How could he leave Sachimata? How could he leave Vishnu Priya? Their love is so intense. How could he do it? We can understand their love is so intense, but there must have been something even more powerful. And that was the love of Srimati Radharani. Mahaprabhu had everything in Navadvip. He was doing Kirtan. Vrindavan Das Thakur says that he was sometimes in the mood of the gopis, sometimes in the mood of Dhruva Maharaj, or Prahlad Maharaj, or Balaram, or Lord Shiva, but sometimes in the mood of the gopis, sometimes in the mood of Radha. He's tasting that. So what is the necessity of his leaving Navadvip and breaking everyone's heart and going to Jagannath Puri? There was a necessity. Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasyatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana bhavisakyaganantascha buddhya vyavasayanam. That those persons are on this path, they're ekantic, they're one-pointed. And that verse perfectly describes the mood of Radharani. Whereas those persons who are bahusaka yanantascha, who are reciprocating with many different persons, they're multi-branched. And they can't really understand. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very multi-branched in Navadvip. So to taste the mood of Radha, to experience Radharani's mood, he had to become a kantak. And therefore he took sannyas. And therefore sannyas in our tradition means Radha Bhav. And therefore the sannyasis in our tradition is a confidential thing. We won't speak about it. I don't have a qualification for that. But they take a Gopi Bhav mantra. And it's said that in separation, what color does a lady wear when her husband's gone, when he dies? She puts on white, right? In separation, there's generally two colors we think of as separation. One is white, and the other is saffron, Arunadoya. Srimati Radharani, in separation from Krishna, is crying and crying in separation. And the tears are coming from her eyes, they're going onto her breasts, which are covered with kumkum. And that kumkum then goes onto her white cloth of separation, and it becomes orange colored. And that's the purport of saffron color in our Sampradaya. And so to taste, become a contact, to taste fully, properly, the love of Radha, there was a necessity for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to leave Navadvip, to leave his wife and family, in the same way that Radharani left everyone and everything, the gopis left everything to come running to Krishna in the middle of the night. Shriman Rasa Visaram Vivam Srivata Tatasvita Karshan Venu Suna Gopi Gopinath. And they came to Gopinath. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ran to Gopinath in Puri, Tota Gopinath, in a similar way to taste that love of Radha. Is that more helpful? It's not such a simplistic thing. It's kind of moving all the time, and it's a very, very deep subject matter. Something we should think about. Helpful?
It's wonderful. Yes, thank you.
Anything from anybody else? Mataji? You want to correct your husband?
No, I have a question. You briefly mentioned about the Radharani committed suicide.
Radharani's what?
Committed suicide?
Jai, thanks.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? How or what?
Well, there's some pastime, which is really horrific, and which is really depressing and really frightening, but there's also Siddhanta behind it. And I touched very lightly on the Leela part, and chose to speak more about the Siddhantic part, which I feel is much more appropriate and important for us to understand. The Leela part is that after Krishna left, according to Rupa Goswami, Mata, he describes this thing, that Radharani became Unmadana Radha. She became transcendentally mad in separation from Krishna. There's dasa. It's a big subject. There's 4 different types of union and 4 different types of separation. The last limit of separation is known as when Krishna goes to Mathura or Dwarka, and that's known as Mathura Viraha or Dwarka Viraha. There's another name for it, which is no. There's 4 types of Virgalamba. There's a verse which is also not anyway, that most intense type of separation, Krishna goes to Mathura or Dwarka, they don't know if they're ever going to see Krishna again or not. Now, our acharyas, and there's a long purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta with all kinds of verses from Hasadutta and Lita Mata and different literatures, speaking about Rasa Dasa, the 10 different symptoms of that I should know this, that type of separation, Krishna goes to Dwarka. And the last of all of those is death, mrityu. That's one of the symptoms. Other symptoms are the shaking in the body, they become stunned in ecstasy, they stop bathing, they become mad. The Chitrajapa is there, they're speaking like a mad woman, different things. The last symptom is mrityu, or death. And so when Srimati Radharani comes to that point, and in one sense, it's horrific for us and frightening and disturbing. Oh my God, I don't want to think about that. But in another sense, it's absolutely necessary. In the sense that if we want to try to understand Radharani's love, and my Guru once said that if you want to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have to understand Radharani. And you can't understand Radharani unless you understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The two are very intimately connected. So there's a necessity, because otherwise we may have some doubt. We may think, oh, Shakespeare is speaking something higher. He's speaking about it, and the love becomes so intense they just want to commit suicide. They can't live without the other one. Shakespeare has something higher. But no, we have the highest thing. Shakespeare should read Lita Mata. And in that separation, Radharani feels so much madness that she decides she tells the gopis, I have something to do, and she goes and drowns herself in the Jamuna. And Lalita goes with her and also drowns with her, and it's a long story like it. So then, I'd have to tell you the whole story of Lalita Mata, which is a very, very difficult book to understand, very difficult book. She's brought to Suryadev, and she offers to Suryadev two things, a flower, because she's worshiping Suryadev every day, and she offers to him what becomes known as the Shamataka jewel, which was the Shankachuta jewel before. It was on his head. Krishna killed Shankachuta, that's discussed in Utamata. And he was going to give the jewel to Radharani, but then Balaram was there, and Krishna said, oh, Alji, because he gets a little embarrassed about his dealings with Radharani in front of his older brother. So he gives the jewel to Balaram, and Balaram knows perfectly Krishna's desire. So kind of behind his back, he passes it on to Radharani. So she has that jewel, and she comes before the sun god, and she gives him the jewel, the flower, and the sun god then takes her to Surajit, the brother Prasen, am I saying this right? In the 10th canto. And she becomes known as, in this Brahmavati, she becomes known as Rukmini.
Yes, not Rukmini, but it was Satyabhama.
Excuse me, the daughter of Satyajit. That's right. She becomes known as the daughter of Satyajit, and it's a really far-out discussion. There's a book that I put together called Mathura Meets Vrindavan, and I would highly recommend that. The last chapter, the whole book is about Krishna leaving Vrindavan, and the last chapter is Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. And it's kind of a summary discussion from my Guru Maharaj about Lalita Mata, and about all these subject matters, and about how actually Krishna never left Vrindavan, and Radharani never really committed suicide, and the whole thing was just a dream. But it's kind of, Prabhuji was telling me earlier that when he reads that kind of thing, he likes to go by himself somewhere and just sit and really think about it very, very deeply. That's helpful. Or if there's some place you can discuss with someone these kind of things, it's helpful. But it's a little difficult in general society. And it's not something we usually talk about. My Guru Maharaj told me personally, he said that we should work to help uphold the prestige of Prabhupada's mission. And the best way to do that is to have nice Krishna guitar, nice Vaishnava music. He told me in 1993, in New York City, when I was alone with him at one point, he said, there's three things that are very important to me. First is I want to preach to the creatures, because I feel so much pain seeing the creatures falling down and going away. And the second thing is I want to show that everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. And the third thing is I want to show, he said, as people see that Prabhupada only gave ABC, I want to make them numb. And the third thing is I want to show that everything is in Prabhupada's society. And he didn't do that out of a mundane sense of sectarianism or envy or something. My team is the best team. But he did that out of a sense of devotion to Srila Prabhupada, to want to serve Srila Prabhupada. Not that there are not other Vaishnavas or other societies, even Prabhupada himself says that. My Guru Maharaj once commented, he said, I knew, before I came to Prabhupada, he said, I knew many Vaishnavas, I knew many disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, but they weren't my Guru. And we saw in Puri and Bhubaneswar, many sadhus would come to see him at different times. And he was very respectful and loving and affectionate to them, but he was an ISKCON Prabhupada man. He wanted to show that everything is in the society. So, it's a long answer, short question.
Thank you very much.
Putting me on the spot. Anything from anybody else? Janaki Nathas.
Thank you so much for this Kirtan. We couldn't follow everything, we were a little late. But I was thinking to become a little, it's a very high subject matter we're talking, and to become a little practical is how we actually worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we see in many temples, devotees look like they worship as Krishna, peacock feathers and things like that. So Gurudev spoke about this thing, and that was especially, I remember when it was in France, in New Mayapur, I was initiated, my first initiation, and he was speaking on that thing. I think maybe it's nice to speak a little bit on that and give some practical information on the
There's
subject.
different way. I want to address your specific question, but I also like to address something else first. You're saying, what is the best way to worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? When you were asking, I was thinking to myself and ask you, where were you yesterday? Where were you yesterday? Why you didn't come here? Because you're on Hari now. That's the best way to worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if you study our Archana system of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and our Srila Prabhupada, we like to do something fancy. We like to know that we're doing something really just right. 4 times to the feet, 2 times to the feet, 3 times to the feet, 7 times around. Did you know that's nowhere in Shastra? This 4, 2, 3, 7 thing for anybody who's Pujari here. It's not in Shastra. Years ago when they were working on the ISKCON deity standards, they were speaking to Janani Prabhu and others, and they're saying, devotees are asking how many times, what number times do we offer to the feet, the waist, the face, and they just said, oh yeah, they just picked some numbers randomly. That's the history of that. So there's a mood for that. Now he's speaking about something else also, which is a little controversial also. And that is, and it's something which Guru Maharaj actually told me personally to write about this thing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the peacock feather. And I see, just speaking as detached as I can, although my Guru Maharaj told me to write about this and I have some connection with him, but I'm also a devotee in this society. And I see it's become an issue for some different groups, and I understand why it's an issue. Because Prabhupada told Malati, told Janani Vas, put a peacock feather on the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then on the other hand, and of course they're very intent about that. Naturally, Prabhupada gave them a personal instruction. And Guru Maharaj told me to write about it. I didn't do that for like 20 years. I just couldn't figure out how to do it in a way that wouldn't be obnoxious and rude and offensive to these devotees who are instructed like this by Srila Prabhupada. I want to respect them, they're my Guru Janas, and what's wrong with doing that if Prabhupada told them to? But on the other hand, I understood that nobody in the Gaudiya Math does this. Amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas, some Sahaja groups, they put a peacock feather on the head of Mahaprabhu, the deity. But most Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't, and the reason why they don't, there's 2 reasons. An internal reason is that he's in the mood of Radha. He's come to be a devotee. And our Guru Maharaj spoke about this, that if you put a peacock feather on his head, you put a flute in his hands, and you can, why not? You put a peacock feather in his head, and his head, why can't you put a flute in his hand? But then he's going to think, oh, that's right, I'm Krishna, I forgot. And then he loses the mood of separation. He loses the mood of being Srimati Radharani, which is his whole purpose in coming. Now, a second reason, which I've thought about, which devotees I find relate to a little more, is that he's Mahabhadanyaya avatar, because Krishna Prema Pradayate, he's in the mood of Radharani, he's giving us ecstatic love. Now, siddhantically, we know that Krishna Parasya Shakti Vividaya Vishruyate, Krishna has multifarious potencies, one of which is his Icha Shakti, his desire potency, that Icha Shakti controls other Shaktis, one of which is the Karuna Shakti. Prabhupada in Nectar Devotion says that Radharani is the personification of the Karuna Shakti, the mercy potency. So in other incarnations, including in Dwapara Yuga, people didn't hear about Radharani. They didn't come in contact with Radharani because the Icha Shakti was controlling that and keeping them away. There's a commentary on the Valmiki Ramayana by Manavala Muni, who was one of the leading acharyas. He's the head of the Tankalite school. There's 2 schools in the Sri Sampradaya, the Vadakalites and the Tankalites. He's the head of the Tankalite school. And in his commentary on the Valmiki Ramayana, he raises a very interesting question. He says, why, since Sita was born in a Kshatriya family, and Kshatriya ladies are tough, and if they're offended, they want their revenge. So why is it that Ramachandra killed Ravan when Sita wasn't there? As a proper Kshatriya, as a proper husband, he should have killed Sita, and he should have killed Ravan, not Sita, that's really bad. He should have killed Ravan in front of Sita. Why didn't he do that? And Madhavananda Muni explains that he couldn't. Because Sita is a Kripa Shakti. And she's so merciful, if she would have been there, she would have said, no, don't kill him. You should show mercy on him. So this is the nature of the Icha Shakti, the desire potency of the Lord is controlling the Karuna Shakti. But in Gora Leela, the Karuna Shakti is free because Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Radharani. And so therefore he's Mahabhadanyaya avatar. He's even more merciful than Krishna because he has the mercy of Radharani, that mood. So if you put a peacock feather on his head and say, oh gosh, I forgot about that. That's right, I'm Krishna. Then the mood of Radharani goes away. And that Karuna Shakti doesn't act independently as it does in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I've also contemplated for a long time, and I spoke with Malati, who I have great respect for, and Janani Vasprabhu, who were very affectionate to me, and I would never want to argue with them. How can you argue with them? Prabhupada told them. However, contemplating it, let me make a few observations. Srila Prabhupada never wrote such a thing in his books, that everybody should put a peacock feather. Srila Prabhupada, it was not even recorded. The conversation instructions, it was never written in a letter. It's never recorded anywhere. And nor did Srila Prabhupada ever explain why it should be done. Now, I think it seems obvious to me, someone could correct me please, that perhaps the reason Prabhupada was doing that was to help people in India to understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Krishna, because a peacock feather is Krishna's symbol, and they can relate to that. And it's easier for them because a lot of people outside of West Bengal, in Orissa, don't understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you put a peacock feather, they, oh, that's Krishna, I understand. Now, I personally have doubts that if someone who's born and raised in Norway or Switzerland or Italy or Denmark, that they're going to walk into a temple and what is that? Oh, he's got a peacock feather on his head, it must be God. I really don't think it works that way with people here personally. And if you look at the original paintings, in the books, Jadharani, I contacted her about this, and she told me that the first deity in ISKCON was a painting of the Panchatattva, and she told me Prabhupada practically took her hands, and really Prabhupada made that painting, and there's no peacock feather on Mahaprabhu. And if you look in the paintings in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which were all commissioned by Prabhupada and oversung by Srila Prabhupada, there's no peacock feather in any of the deities. Now, if you want to come to me with this really awkward question, does that mean, Prabhu, that we shouldn't do that? I'm going to say, don't ask me that question. You should cooperate with the temple authorities. And we have a system in our movement. My Guru Maharaj was one person, but we have many persons. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, incidentally, I forgot another point, forbade putting a peacock feather on the deed of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and it's not done in any Gaudiya much. But if you come to me and ask me, I'm going to tell you we have a system that Srila Prabhupada gave us, and you should follow your head pujari, you should follow the temple president, you should discuss with the devotees and cooperate with them. In your home, do what you feel is the best to do. But devotees, and I know a number of places, such as in Hungary, they don't put a peacock feather in the deity of Mahaprabhu, and a number of different temples and things. And of course, in Bhubaneswar, we don't do that. But in a number of ISKCON temples, they don't, and somehow they're still allowed to be in the society. It's not such a big issue, but the more important thing, in my humble mind, is that we don't quarrel about the feather. It's not really, there's some philosophy there, it's an important issue, and as we discussed, there's more mercy when there's no peacock feather, and there's a reason, an internal reason why he doesn't do that. Those are good things to know. We made a magazine, which I was trying to look on phone for, but it's on the other phone. Where I finally tried to fulfill Guru Maharaj's instruction to me after many, many years. And we wrote a magazine, a Bindu magazine, which you can download if you want. I don't remember the issue number, but the title is Krishna Katamrita Bindu, Understanding the Inner Mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think is what it was titled. And what we did is we put many quotes from Srila Prabhupada, don't disturb the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's statement of Chaitanya Bhagavad, don't offer the symbols of Krishna to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And some things from my Guru Maharaj. And then we had a photo essay of a few dozen of the earliest deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who were worshipped by Gauridas Pandit, who were worshipped by Maharaj Kratakarudra, who were worshipped by Narottam Das Thakur, different devotees. And photos of those deities, and we didn't mention it, but there's no peacock feather on any of them. They just don't do that. So that was my attempt to fulfill that instruction in a way that was respectful to those senior devotees, so that I have great love and appreciation for their lifelong service for Srila Prabhupada. That's more important to me than anything else. Is that okay, Janakinath? I can't imagine everybody's putting me on the Radharani suicide, and then everybody's putting me on the spot with these things. I can't imagine anything more awkward than those questions. So. Is there anything else? Would you have something else?
What about the peacock feather? Sorry that I...
He just asked that.
No. But what is the reason that Krishna is wearing a peacock?
Why does Krishna wear a peacock feather? That's an interesting thing. I've also looked into that some. A few observations. First of all, it's not mentioned in any direct place. There's some Lila Kirtans, there's some tradition in Braj, that the peacocks, when they saw Krishna dancing, the peacocks became so impressed because the peacocks danced. When they saw Krishna dance, they said, wow, you're the best. You're much better than us. And here we have to give you some tribute. And so they offered their feather to Krishna. Some say that all the colors, and by the way, I just saw some strange thing. Scientifically, someone found there's some laser rays or something come from peacock feathers. You could Google that. If you're interested in science, an interesting thing. But they say that in that peacock feather, all the colors are there, and it indicates how Krishna is controlled by the love of the gopis and by the love of all the devotees, which is all there in the peacock feather. There's another thought for you. And some people comment, there's another tradition in Braj, they say that it was just always there with Krishna. When was the flute? When did the flute appear? And Mother Yashoda offered that to Krishna. But a third observation I've made is that in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Sanatana Goswami discusses about how Krishna looked at Dwarka, there's no peacock feather that's mentioned, because it's a mood of Vrindavan, it's a mood of Braj. Even Krishna in Dwarka doesn't have a peacock feather. And I once asked Radharani this question, why did you paint Lord Nrsimhadev with a peacock feather? And I've really been into this. My Guru Maharaj told me I've been into this peacock feather thing. And she told me, she said, I lament about that. That was my idea, and Prabhupada just allowed it. But now in retrospect, I wish I had done it. Because Lord Nrsimhadev doesn't have that exact mood. Is that helpful? It's the best I can give.
Say something also about this. I heard once that the peacocks are just like perfect brahmacharis. Perfect brahmacharis.
Brahmachari.
Yes, they live brahmacharya in the perfect way, actually, and no one is better than Krishna in performing brahmacharya.
Krishna Nitya Brahmachari.
Yeah, that's why he was wearing the peacock. That's the one thing I heard somewhere. I don't know. It's just in my mind. That's why I asked you if you can relate.
You get that from Amarendra Prabhu, maybe?
I don't know. I heard somewhere. It's in my mind. That's why I asked you. Can you explain more about it?
He's a good authority. I don't know. That sounds really cool. I like that. But we say actually Krishna, although it says, the Upanishads say Krishna Nitya Brahmachari. There's a whole discussion about that. But we say actually Krishna's not a brahmachari. He's a mamachari. He's attached to his mother, and he follows what his mother says. We like to think of him like that, not as a brahmachari. Although the Upanishads say there's a whole purport to that. Thank you. Anybody else with anything? It's so nice. I feel, yeah, first day I came here, I always feel kind of nervous. Oh my God, are they going to like throw me out and get angry with me or something? I don't know so many devotees here, but now coming and having these discussions, as the Bhagavatam says, parasparana katanam pavanam bhagavad, when we discuss with devotees, there's back and forth discussion, then you come close together. And this is why Srila Prabhupada wanted Bhagavatam class every day. It builds community. Even if sometimes the speakers may not be qualified. But if there's some back and forth discussion, we all come together. It's a very good thing. So I feel a little more part of the community now after 3 days. Thank you all very much. Janakinath?
Prabhuji, these pastimes of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are eternally going on. So then you also think, is the debt never paid? I mean, it's eternally going. How we can understand this? It's eternally going on. Right now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is somewhere in the universe, is doing all these things, and we are in this place.
Yeah.
We are bound by 4 dimensions.
So to put that in another way, the kirtan never stops.
Kirtan never stops.
Kirtan is eternal. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Anybody have any last things? Prabhuji, can you have a moment?
Hare Krishna. Something came up in my mind. Like after digesting everything that you've said and contemplating on it, and we come to a conclusion that I don't really align with the bhajan of our Sampradaya. What should we do?
We should get with it. We should contemplate it. And am I really, we're giving this whole talk about it, but then let's be honest, am I really part of this kirtan of our Sampradaya? Everyone else is doing it chanting, but I've been left out. The very first day we spoke about the locked door kirtan in the house of Srivas Thakur. And in his purport, Srila Prabhupada says only bona fide chanters were allowed. And we mentioned, maybe we'll talk about who's a bona fide chanter. We don't have time for that right now. But a bona fide chanter is someone who has prema. That's the person who's really part of the kirtan of our Sampradaya. So, what am I doing? And therefore, in the same song, Ohe Vaishnava Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Amito Kangala, Krishna Krishna Bola, Daitava Pachi Pachi, that I'm just running after you and chanting Krishna Krishna. I'm not part of that kirtan. But what I'm doing, I'm running after him. Why am I running after Gurudev? Well, because my Guru is running. He's running. Why is my Guru running? He's running after his Guru. Why is his Guru running? He's running after his Guru. And this is our Sampradaya. Everyone feels unqualified. And everyone's trying to run and trying to be of service to their Guru to help in this kirtan of our Sampradaya, to help to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, serve Krishna, to help him get enough money to pay his debt, which maybe that will never happen. and we're all running for that because we're not qualified. That's my home understanding.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant with not allowing. Like it's not like, okay, this is not your part, but yeah, you don't, I think it's too high for you. You know, like it's
Oh my God!
I can never reach that.
So we're running. What else do I have to do? It's the best thing in life, the best opportunity in my life, and maybe I'm not qualified. My grandmas used to say, your only qualification is your disqualification. When we own it. And that's the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Vishidanta midam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. When Sanjaya says Krishna speaks, the first thing Krishna says, he says that in the second chapter, Vishidantam, Bishad means, Baladevi Devotion is given a title for the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Bishad Yoga, the yoga of lamentation. And Bishad means, it's two things, it's a compound word in Sanskrit. It means Bish and Ad. Bish means poison, Ada means to accept. So to accept poison, another meaning is lament. And that's the whole foundation of the Bhagavad Gita, by which inspired Krishna to speak. So our only qualifications are disqualification. We should just cry and cry piteously and bang our head. And maybe we can be some use, and Prabhupada engages us to distribute books and engage people in Harinam, and speak about things like this. We're being engaged. But we should always remember, I'm not really part of the main Kirtan party. I'm just assisting somewhere. Is that okay? That's a great comment. Question, thank you. Okay, so I know, I was told, you know, that when you come here, the devotees were really nice, really sweet. They said, but they also told me it can be dangerous. Coming here, they said, when the devotees get hungry, they get a little dangerous. So I think we should stop here.
Hare Krishna. I think they like Kirtan, so if you can conclude the sandwich, as you told.
A little more careful.
Yeah, a little more Kirtan. And stand up, and we sat too long, so we can take some Kirtan dance. So, Hare Krishna.
Put your hands in the air.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. Everyone all together, bolo. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, bolo bolo. Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. All together, bolo bolo. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. One more time, bolo bolo. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama. One more time, a little louder, please. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna. Everyone together, bolo. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama. One more time, bolo. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama. Again, a little louder, please. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, it goes down. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Let's do what we did on the first day. Everybody, except you, close your eyes, put your hands in the air. You really want to call out. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Bolo. Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Let's do it one more time all together. And this time it's a kind of a prayer to Srila Prabhupada saying thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare We can't thank Srila Prabhupada enough. Let's do it one more time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai 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 Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Nitai Gora Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Gora Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Nitai Gora Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Gora Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Nitai Gora Hare Bo. Guru Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hare Om. Shiva Prabhupada Ki, Shiva Prabhupada, Iskan Samstapakacharya Ki. 60th anniversary of Shiva Prabhupada coming. Ki Jai. Shri Shila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ji Ki. Gaur Premanande Hare Om. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhu. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha, Kripa Sindhu Devacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnava.
His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu Ki. Hare Krishna. We came to the conclusion of this 3-day seminar today. Hopefully not the last seminar. We are going to hear from His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu.
This is chapter 1, we'll continue next.
Yes. So I hope that everybody got some, inspiration to how to perform Kirtan in the Sampradaya. So as Madhavananda Prabhu explained very nicely in 3 days. Actually, it was a revelation for me too. Actually, I can say for myself, I'm chanting daily Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but I never reflected like Prabhu explained. Actually, we are praying to Srimati Radharani to get Krishna, but we are doing that by chanting Krishna's name to please Srimati Radharani, so we can get Krishna. That's what I actually, what I got from this seminar. And I hope that everybody has gained something to come closer to this object, Radha Krishna Prem. And we want to thank His Grace Madhavananda Prabhu heartfully, that he came, made some time to give us some enlightenment in this topic. And we also want to thank all the devotees who has made this seminar possible in each of every way. They have contributed to this seminar. I want to thank Anandajit Prabhu, greatly, because he is the one who was the motor behind this. He invited Madhavananda Prabhu, and so that we could have this seminar for 3 days. It's also Hari Bol for him. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! And one thing, Hari Bol! One more thing, Anandajit Prabhu, he is organizing these things. He doesn't want to say this. At least we are long-standing devotees here for many years. So to organize such things need all kind of, things like manpower. You need also some Lakshmi. So if you want to contribute in any way you can, it's possible for you, please help us to continue this seminar for next year. We can invite Madhavananda Prabhu again, so that we have this kind of, not Sangha, like Prabhu, he said, the Sangha is just coming for our own benefit, but try to go deeper into Sangha, try to please Krishna, Srimati Radharani, and our previous acharyas, so that we may obtain the goal of this Kirtan of the Sampradaya. Hare Krishna. We have also a gift for Prabhu, Govinda and Kalindi. They are going to present it to Prabhu.
Also from Madhu. She always gets everything.
Don't complain too much.
There's 2 inside and 4
Krishna tames 2, tames a circle, tames a circle.
That's pretty cool.
The other side, it's Jai Jagat. These are bags?
Yeah, these are bags. And the Kalia one was made by Govind.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, Hare Krishna. You want me to distribute this out?
Yes, we would like to invite all the devotees to come forward to get some sweets from Madhavananda Prabhu.
Listen to me, I'm a little embarrassed. Right in front of Jai Gopal. It's great seeing you. I'm not like some person. I have a doubt about this, okay? Now, let me tell you a little story, okay? When I came here, I was watching everything, trying to figure out who the real actors are. And I came and I saw this really passionate, intense guy, Anandajit Prabhu, running around, doing everything. And so I thought, he's the guy. He's the man behind everything. But then after a little while, watching things, I came to understand there's someone behind him who's supporting, and that's Divya Jyoti Mataji. She's very quiet. She's more in charge. But then I came to understand there's a third person who's actually the real person behind everything. And her name is Kalindi. So I want to ask Kalindi, you have to translate. Kalindi, is it okay if I distribute prasadam for everybody?
Kalindi. Prabhu vraagt is wat oké is als hij cake uitdeelt of je alles hebt.
She says no.
She's busy in her seva.
She's what?
She's busy in her seva.
She's doing her seva. Kalindi, is it okay? Should we distribute prasadam?
Wil je dat Prabhu prasadam uitdeelt?
Yeah?
Yes.
Kalindi says it's okay. Then I feel Kalindi Ki.
Children first, senior devotees. Kom maar jongens, kom maar een cakeje halen in de hoek. Alle kinderen eerst.
Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmani Vaishnave Swalpa Punyamatan Rajan Visvasanaiva Jayate Sharira Avidyaja Jar Indriya Tahika Jve Phile Visay Sagore Armadhe Jivayati Lobho Moy Sudurmati Takijita kuchita samsare Krishna bara dayamoy Poribar jivajoy Swaprashadan dilo bhai Sayanamrita pao Shri Radha Krishna Gunaga Prema Dako Chaitanya Nitai Jai Nimai Jai Nitai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Bhagavad Prasad ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Bol. So, you want to make a quick group picture with Madhavananda Prabhu? So, after that we will have Prashadam in this room next door here. Please don't leave this room. We are going to take a picture first. Yes? Group picture.
Hare Krishna. Where's your phone? She was in the room since yesterday. Okay, she was.